to win a title, and it might have done just that for Leicester City.
Look out! Puts it the right hand side. Jordan Rapallo!
But it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it! The Tigers have won by a point!
Hello and welcome to an extra special The Final Score episode today. We've Val Febbo here with you from La Trobe University. We've got a massive show. It's the AFL Grand Final tomorrow. Happy Grand Final Eve to everybody. And we're going to be talking all things AFL Grand Final today. I'm joined by Josh Schonafinger. We had him on not last Monday, but the Monday before. We loved you so much, we thought we'd have you back. Thanks for coming on today.
So nice to have it twice.
No problem, boys. Feel like I'm becoming semi-regular here.
Oh, you definitely are. We love having you on, mate. Thanks again. And Josh Campbell is here with us as well.
The master of segues back.
Yeah, you a very good master of segues. How you going?
Not too bad. It's Grand Final Eve. Is there ever a better time in the AFL season than right now?
No, Grand Final day.
Oh, okay. Valid. But how good has the build-up been for this Grand Final?
Yeah, it really has been. It's been special, I think, because it's one that nobody thought would happen. Nobody thought the Western Bulldogs would be here, and here they are in Grand Final week and sopping it up, really. The training yesterday had a full packed house at Whitten Oval.
Would you have expected anything less?
It's been
wouldn't 55 years.
Oh, exactly. I was working at High Point last night, and that's only five minutes down the road from Whitten Oval, and the amount of Bulldogs supporters that were coming in and just in elation that they'd been to training, got some autographs, got some photos of them training, and yeah, they were really happy, and I was giving them all high fives, all the kids, and even the adults were giving me high fives as well. They were wrapped. So yeah, very, very interesting. And speaking of the game tomorrow, Ryan Tennison, Joel Fritchie and Rudy Edsel not here, unfortunately. I think Ryan might be on his way, so I'm not sure if he's going to...
Might get some special comments towards the end of the show.
Might get some special comments, so he might be in mid-show. We don't know.
The AFL got rid of the sub, but we're still keeping the sub rule.
Exactly.
So
yeah, we definitely are. But yeah, Joel and Rudy not here today, so can't wait to... I think Rudy's out for next Monday's show, but see Joel back next Monday. Oh, here he is. Speaking of special guests, Ryan Tennison is here.
He's thinking of the wrong Grand Final. What are you doing?
Yeah, he's got the wrong Grand Final outfit on, but he's here. Ryan, how you going?
Good, mate. Got to make a special entrance. Wouldn't be me if I didn't come in.
Where's the dramatic
everyone
music?
looking?
I have it up and everything. We just didn't get it on. That's a bit of a shame.
Oh, that's all right.
Doesn't
Happy
matter.
to be ready and rocking.
The special guest is here, but actually you came at perfect time because we're about to get stuck into the Grand Final teams. These were released last night. The Bulldogs, no change. And this would be, I'll go through the list at the list, and then we'll talk about sort of the big issues from the list there. But the back line, Johannesson, Hamling, and Boyd, Matthew Boyd, they're ever present. Great, he's been fantastic this season, and it's like he's been born again since he gave the captaincy off. He's been phenomenal, Matthew Boyd. And half back line, Shane Biggs, originally from Sydney, played a fair few finals with the Swans back in 2013 and 14. So great to see him playing a grand final for the Bulldogs. And I reckon, Josh, do you think Sydney would be upset that he's in the grand final lineup for the Bulldogs?
Well, I mean, he requested a trade after being a few limited opportunities, so it's really good to see him have their second chance and doing really well for himself. Obviously, the Swans have a few good rebounding defenders themselves, so maybe there's not room, but all the best for Shane on the
no, I think he's been a very, very solid member of the Dogs lineup this season and last season as well. Dale Morris, centre half back, and Easton Wood, the captain for the Bulldogs, without Robert Murphy there, playing some really good football. Took a screamer against the Giants last Saturday, so hopefully we can see more of
they're
the
looking for motivation. They just need to see that tape.
Again,
seeing
exactly.
their captain doing that type of stuff on a football field, that motivates anybody.
Oh, he's been awesome this year, Easton Wood, so hopefully he can... put another captain's effort in on the weekend. And the centre line, Lockie Hunter, Marcus Bontempelli, he's amazing, that man, and Liam Picken as well. Half forward line, Jack McRae, Zane Cordy, Jake Stringer, the package. Will we see a highlights package this week?
You never know.
Who knows? The forward line, Tory Dixon, Tom Boyd, and Clay Smith, who was amazing against the Giants last week. And the rucks, Jordan Ruffhead, his eye is okay. He was given the all clear this morning. Luke Dalhouse in the centre as well. And Tom Liberatore. The interchange is McLean, Fletcher Roberts, who kept his spot from last week, Josh Dunkley, and the second in the rising star this year, Caleb Daniels. So I think the two talking points that we get from that, Matt Suckling missing out on the grand final. He's played the last two for the Hawks. Missing out for the Bulldogs, Ryan, that's a big out.
Absolutely, but I think what Beveridge was hoping to do is just keep the winning side together.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with the chemistry or mess with any of the plans that had worked for you previously. Of course, it's devastating for Suckling. Nobody wants to miss a grand final, but I can actually see the logic in that. If it worked against GWS, it'll probably work against Sydney. So I wouldn't want to mess with the winning lineup either.
It speaks volumes about their depth as well, because you've got two great players in Suckling and Jong who are ready to come back into this team, but there's no obvious people to go out, is there?
No, exactly. And I thought it might be Fletcher Roberts.
Well, he was phenomenal in their prelim.
He was good. Didn't have many disposals, but he got the job done.
It was his defensive freshman. I agree with Ryan completely in saying that not changing a winning formula, and that there wasn't anyone from that Bulldogs defense that I could see getting dropped for Suckling, because I just thought they showed that pressure that the Bulldogs have been wanting to demonstrate all year, and to drop any of them out, and Suckling, who knows if he's 100%. Like, his fitness training, he was okay, but who knows how he's physical, how he is mentally.
Yeah.
So,
and, well, you're exactly right, because if the Bulldogs knew that, Fletcher Roberts is obviously 100% and Suckling might not be, and why would you want to risk having a player down in a grand final?
Yeah, you want 22 people at 100% for every grand final. You don't want anyone under a question mark going into that game.
Yep, I agree. And Lin Jong, especially a Norm Goss medalist from the VFL grand final last week, I was really surprised he didn't get a call-up as well, considering... Well, he was good last week.
He played a grand final 6 days ago, though. Can you really expect him to play another one?
Well, it's happened before. Stephen King back in 2007.
It's happened before, I can understand, but are they going to drop anyone from that team? It's not like they've had
for the VFL best on ground. Yes, you'd try and bring him in if you could.
But I'm saying, is there anyone there that you could replace him for?
I mean, I'm sure. Look, to be realistic, I mean, you could. As you said, that Roberts probably would be the one to.
Yeah, but that's more so for Suckling, though. That's Roberts for Suckling was mine. But the thing is, you are right. But who would you bring out? But I think that. If
there's people you could make way for.
There definitely is. I think Lin Jong, after the way he played last week, but then again, the collarbone would it have it did hold up in the VFL grand final, but
again, it's another injury cloud that you don't want to take in and risk.
And I guess you can't carry passengers in the grand final.
And if they had selected Lin Jong, we would have been sitting here for half an hour talking about how questioning the decision, whether it was a right decision to put him into the team. I think Luke's made the right decision to go unchanged into the final.
And the thing is, Sydney would have gone for that shoulder, because Casey stuffed up last week, especially Lyndon Dunn. That was they taped the left shoulder when his right shoulder was
if you had a player, Sydney would have had a lot of footage going, it's that shoulder, not that shoulder's the one to target.
And Sydney are much more professional than the Casey Scorpions, so I think they definitely would know which shoulder to target. So I think that could be a reason why Lin Jong doesn't come in. But I think unchanged side, it rarely ever goes badly for a team, does it? So we'll see what happens with the Doggies. And it's a pretty formidable lineup, very quick, and the way they move the ball on the G, that could hurt Sydney, but we'll get into all of that later. But we'll go to the Swans lineup this week. 2 changes. So the back line, Jake Lloyd, Heath Grundy, Nick Smith. The half-back line, Callum Mills back in from his hamstring injury sustained against GWS in the qualifying final. Jeremy Layla holds his spot. I think if Alira had have stayed in the team, I reckon Jeremy Layla probably would have been the one to go out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's a great story coming. This is his 3rd club, played a couple of games for Geelong, then went to Carlton, and now he's playing a grand final for Sydney. So a supreme effort from him to, sort of adapt to that Bloods culture and sort of reform his game. And Sydney's been so good at getting those recycled players from other clubs and really just changing them and
finding their role.
Exactly.
They're really good at that.
Well, if you look at this, you've got there's not as many in this team as there used to be. You found guys like Mitch Morton, premiership player, and there were so many others. But look, Jeremy Layla, Josh Kennedy from Hawthorn, Lance Franklin from Hawthorn, but he was already a fantastic player. Kurt Tippett, Ben McGlynn. So there's so many that they've got there. But if we look at the rest of the halfback line, so you've got Dane Rampy as well, was always going to hold his spot. Kieran Jack, the co-captain. Josh Kennedy in the centre and Jared McVeigh on the other wing, the other co-captain. Half forward, Tom Mitchell, Lance Franklin and Luke Parker. At forward line, Tom Papley, who's had a supreme final series. He's been awesome. How many goals did he kick?
9 goals.
Nine goals,
series.
yeah.
I think 7 in his last 2 as well. He kicked 4 in that semi-final
Against
and
Adelaide,
3 in that prelim.
Yeah, and 2 in the first final,
exactly.
didn't he? So he's going to be very, very dangerous for the Bulldogs. And I think someone like Boyd or Johannesson or even Biggs will have to go on to him and really shut him down. And the other forwards, Tippett and McGlynn. McGlynn, great story. And the rucks, Naismith, Hanbury and Heaney. And the interchange bench, Gary Rowan, Zach Jones, who deservedly held his spot after the performance against Geelong last week, was brilliant. I think he had 22 disposals and was supreme running off half-back. So very, very good for Jones. George Hewitt as well. They were talking on the radio that he might lose his spot possibly, but I think with the way he's played all season, I think he deserves it. And Xavier Richards makes the final interchange spot there. So Ted Richards, no room for him. He's officially a retired player now. But the ins, Callum Mills, Jared McVeigh, and the outs, Aliir and Harry Marsh. So we'll start with Aliir, knee injury.
That's devastating.
Oh, it really is.
He's been one of the stories of the year for Sydney. Yeah. He came into their season halfway through, not sure how he's going to fit into the team, and he's fit in phenomenally for their defense.
Oh, yeah.
He's incredibly athletic. He runs off so well off half-back. He's incredible in the air, and he's got incredible skills as well.
Yeah, I agree. He's been, and he reads the play so well as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
He's got such a great footy brain, and he's so precise with his decisions, quick and accurate.
He's calm, isn't he? He's got
Yeah,
composure.
absolutely. It seems like he's got an extra few seconds than everybody else out on the field, and that is just incredible for such a raw player.
It's what you want, definitely. And he's been, and I think you sort of knew when he hurt himself against Geelong last week. I think
he was always going to struggle to make the big one.
Yeah, you knew. And they said it wasn't as serious as first thought, but I think just a knee injury, you don't want to
always trouble.
And as we've said, you don't want to carry players through a grand final.
No. Yep, no passengers.
Especially against the quick Bulldogs forward line. You need players that are going to be there and able to help him out. But also Harry Marsh, unlucky as well to miss out on a grand final. It's never.
He was that
easy.
person from the team to get dropped, though.
Yeah.
From that Geelong prelim.
Yeah, it was a logical decision, but I mean, I guess with every grand final, there's always those unlucky few who have to, miss the
watch
cut.
from the sidelines.
And it does make sense as well because he's really the Swans' fourth tall in defence, and the Bulldogs' forward line is obviously not very tall.
Yeah.
A lot of small guys running around there, Dixon, Daniel, etc. So it made sense, and Mills will come in and do that
Yeah,
role.
definitely. And well, Callum Mills, great to see him back. Jared McVeigh as well. Mills, the thing is though, as Josh and I were saying off air, a hamstring's not something you want to toy around with before a grand final or during a grand final. So
the selection staff have to know that this is a 100% guarantee. Otherwise, taking that into a grand final is playing with fire, isn't it?
I think they'd be willing to take a risk because he is quite a talented young player. So
rising star.
Yeah.
What could you he's
exactly.
been
So.
the best rookie.
So would you play him underdone if you were John Long?
Well, I wouldn't play him if he's outwardly obviously injured, no. But if he's 80, 85, I still play him.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'll look him in the eye and say, can you play a full game? And if he looks me straight back in the eye and says, yes, I can, you're in.
That I agree with. But the 80-85% thing, I disagree with entirely.
I think you need to be 90 at least.
That's just being pedantic. But yeah.
I mean, taking out like your Lance
person.
Frankens and your Marcus Montepellis, anyone who's at 80 to 85% coming into a grand final, I'm just saying I'm taking someone who's 100% because who knows what happens to them during the game.
Could lose him in the first quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that 15% could be.
As a coach, that's a risk I'm not willing to take.
But yeah, it's.
I'm willing to take the better player if they're
Yeah.
confident they can play out the game.
And that's the coaching dilemma. That's why it's so hard, and that's why there's such scrutiny over what decisions the coaches make every grand final. Because, you're saying if a player's 80, 85%, you'll take him in if he's like one of your best players. You're saying you take someone with 100%, and that's the scrutiny, and that's what,
that's why these guys have short lives. It's just.
That's why they've got grey hair.
That causes them.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other inclusion, Jared McVeigh, he comes in off a calf injury, and he said on the Sunday Footy Show that if that prelim final was 2 days later, he would have played. So I'm pretty confident that even though the calf injury is a pretty serious one for the older guys.
Yeah.
I think he'll be right.
And he ran through all the trainings pretty well. So, I think he'll be ready and firing.
Well, Jared McVeigh would have a lot of revenge on his mind. 10 years ago was the West Coast Grand Final, his first Grand Final, and they lost it by a point. So he'll want to make the 10-year anniversary of that horrible day for him a good one. But
Or thanks to Daniel Chick.
Yeah, thanks to the whole West Coast
Well, the
team.
whole West Coast team, but that goal in particular.
Yeah, Cousins was pretty good. That
Yeah,
day.
Cousins was good.
Yes,
Judd Norm Smith, was it?
Embley Norm Smith.
Embley Norm Smith, yeah. That's
anyway,
right.
let's move on from that Grand Final.
That's actually, you don't want to talk about that. But I want to talk about, just quickly, the turnover in 4 years for Sydney. So 2012, obviously, was their last flag. And they've only got 7 players from that lineup that are still in the team. So if you look at those 7, it's Grundy, Nick Smith, Kieran Jack, Josh Kennedy, Jared McVeigh, Luke Parker, who was the sub that day, and Dan Hanbury. So McGlynn actually missed that one with a hamstring injury. Tom Papley only made his debut this year. Naismith hasn't been around for too long. Heaney last year. Heaney was last year. And then Gary Rowan he was on the list, but wasn't in their best
Injured
22.
at that stage, I think.
Ted Richards obviously not playing this week. Nick Malcheski, the hero from the grand final, not there. Adam Goods not there either. Lewis Roberts-Thompson, Mitch Morton. There's so many players that played in that grand final. And Alex Johnson was in the team but hasn't played since that day because of however many knee reconstructions he's had. That's just a horrible story. But yeah, I think and it's credit to John Longmire, the way he's coached this team, because it's young.
Yeah.
And
but to a degree, like the high turnover is sort of more in line with what modern day football is.
Yeah.
You're not going to see, especially with the way free agency is going.
Yeah.
You're not going to see players playing 12 years, 13 years at the one club like a Boomer Harvey or whatever. Good players are going to chop and change as demand goes.
I agree, yeah.
They're going to chase premierships. So as we've seen with big name players in the past, like Buddy, they go to stacked teams to try and win premierships. And I guess, 4 years is a long time now in football.
Yeah.
And that's why you see the high turnover.
Yeah, definitely. And quick question to you guys. If Buddy can't deliver a flag to Sydney, because that's what he was originally taken there to do, do you still, because he's been very good for them, you can't deny
Absolutely.
that. But is it a pass mark if there is no flag in that 9 years?
Absolutely not. You do not pay somebody that kind of money to just make finals, whatever. He's there to win premierships, and that's virtually all he's there for. They're a good team without him. He is there to kick 8 in grand finals and to carry them to premierships. That's what he's there for.
This is the kind of game particularly where you need Buddy to shine the most, because all the momentum basically is with the Western Bulldogs. This is a game where the Sydney is still the favourites. They're still the favourites to win, which I know they don't like. They prefer to be the underdogs. But coming into this game, this is where you need Buddy and all that to get the guys. And it's going to be like, we're the favourites, we're going to win this game.
But he's the type of player, sorry to jump in there. He's the type of player that if the team could be playing averagely, but if he's playing great, you win anyway.
Yeah.
That is just how good he is and the impact he can have.
Yep.
Well, that grand final against Hawthorn was probably the only instance of it not happening.
Yeah,
well, exactly.
Where he was carrying their team.
Kicked 4 that day.
Yeah.
But that Sydney Swans forward line can struggle, and if he still kicks 8, they're going to win.
Oh, yeah,
That's,
for sure.
If he
that
kicks
is
8,
exactly
I'd back
why,
Sydney to win it as well.
That's exactly why he's the key for them.
I guess you could say that he's increased their membership as well a lot because of the acquisition, and he's won games off his own boots throughout the season. So, but I still agree with you. If there is no premiership, it would be a bad investment from
It'd
the
be a
Swans.
failure, is what it would be.
Yep. No, I tend to agree with you
Still
guys.
6 years to go on that contract, though, so plenty of time.
Yeah, long time to win. But I think this one is probably going to be their best chance. They're favourites to do it. With GWS coming up, the Bulldogs are going to get better. They're not gonna go down from here with the team that they've got.
When they get Redpath and Wallace back as well, there's a lot of players they've got out.
And Bob Murphy.
And Bob Murphy next year as well.
Particular.
So going to be very interesting. Let's move on though to the key players in this grand final. We'll start with the Bulldogs. So Josh Schonafinger, who is your key player for the Western Bulldogs this weekend?
My key for the Dogs is Jake Stringer, who we all refer to passionately as the package.
Really? He's the key? Really?
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or
not. No, I'm genuinely intrigued. How is he the key?
He's the key for the Bulldogs because he only needs 5 minutes of magic to turn the game on its head. As we saw against Hawthorn, he kicked 3 goals in the third quarter, I think, second or third quarters. Really gave the Dogs the momentum. And against Sydney earlier in the year, he kicked 3 goals on Callum Mills, who might be his matchup again. So he's a really important person for them.
To me, Jake Stringer is always the key. in a Western Bulldog. Almost always the key in a Western Bulldogs
That's a
game.
fascinating idea.
Ryan, why do you think he isn't?
Well, I'm not saying that he's maybe not a factor, but he's definitely not the key. The key has got to be Marcus Bontempelli. He is your sort of flag stick. He's your man who's going to run through the middle and get... Stringer cannot get a kick if Bontempelli and those boys in the middle aren't kicking the ball down to him.
But if you look at Stringer in the forward 50, if the ball goes in there, and his form hasn't been great, but when exactly.
Who would you say could spark a momentum shift? Oh, sorry to cut you off. A momentum shift more, Bontempelli or Stringer?
Bontempelli by a country mile.
In the midfield, but Stringer can do things in the forward line. I know Bontempelli can, but...
Yeah, he kicked a goal in the prelim. That sort of...
Yeah, but
that was a
transferred the momentum.
But if you look at the Hawthorn game, and if you look at other games throughout the year that Stringer's played, he has sparked, especially unfortunately against Richmond. Stringer barely had any touches in the first half, and then kicked 4 in the second half, and just came out of nowhere, sparked the Bulldogs, and
but being mercurial should be different than being sort of the important player. Just because you can sort of come on and burst, that's great. But I'm talking about somebody who's going to win it for you throughout the entire course of the game. That will be Bontempelli.
So you're saying all 4 of us should just say our key player is Bontempelli.
Absolutely, it should be for the Bulldogs. Absolutely,
okay.
He's the key.
He's definitely.
I would say he's one of the keys without a doubt.
They've got
he's their
lots
best
of
player.
Yeah. They've got lots of keys in that team, and I think definitely Stringer is one. Bontempelli is one as well. So we've got
I'm assuming Ryan's going Bontempelli as his key player.
No, it's Roughhead. No, it's definitely Bontempelli.
So we've got Ryan's there. Josh
I would
Campbell.
say my key player after that prelim final he had would be Easton Wood as the captain. Bontempelli, I know you're probably going to say he's a spiritual leader. To me, I would feel like Easton Wood is almost a spiritual leader as their leader. He's so phenomenal off that back line. He directs them as well. I mean, you saw... I don't know if you saw how aggressive Heath Shaw was. I would say he's almost the polar opposite to Heath Shaw in terms of defense. He leads, but he leads more... I know Heath Shaw leads by example, but Easton Wood leads by taking rebounding marks consistently.
Yeah. He's last 2 years he's been top 3. I think last year it was number 1 in the AFL for intercept marks.
I think 5 games into the game he was doubled over everyone else for intercept marking.
Yeah, and that mark he took on the halfback line.
When you saw Wood play 3 years ago,
you wouldn't have thought that.
The improvement has been absolutely incredible.
He was a hothead when he came into the game.
He was. The long hair, real fiery. So it's been great to see.
And he was part of that sort of 08, 9, 10 era for the Bulldogs as well. He was sort of on the list. He played a couple of finals for them. And, I think everybody thought once McCartney left and he was sort of struggling to get a bit of a game. And now, you can't see a Bulldogs team without him.
There must have been like a switch flick.
Yeah, he's the second one picked now by
Yeah, definitely.
Behind Stringer.
I think right.
Well, who's your Bulldogs key player?
My key player for the Bulldogs is Caleb Daniel. I think second in the rising star. Second in the rising star this year. Second in the rising star. Just listen to my points, Ryan. His speed can be utilised here, especially on the G, because the Swans usually play their games at SCG, which is quite small. They can lock you down. Caleb Daniel will be fantastic on the outside, like he was last week. And he uses the ball very quickly and he makes smart decisions and he's not afraid to get involved in the game and show his fight. And I reckon if he can do a couple of good things here and there as a small forward or inside the midfield and get some clearances for the Dogs, I reckon they've got a big chance.
So you're telling me, I just want to make sure I've got this right, just for clarity. I'm
not saying he's a bigger
the
key.
4-foot bloke coming off the bench is your key for the Bulldogs.
I hope you heard that if you're listening out there, Caleb Daniel.
Yeah, I'm saying he's one of the keys because we're not all going to have the same player, are we?
Well, I'm just saying, surely you pick a player that's actually starting on the ground.
I think Caleb Daniel could be a massive influence. I don't think I've seen him.
He can have an influence, of course, as all players can, but are you seriously saying he's going to be the key?
Yeah. He's going to be one of the keys. Think about the goal he kicked last week. He popped up. And, he was fantastic last week and helped them a lot. And especially against the Bulldogs as well.
I don't think I've seen him being tackled this final series. Ever.
Yeah. Of all the players wearing a helmet on the weekend, he'll be one of the most important.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh.
You cannot dispute that. That's just facts.
Yeah, but I'm sticking with him. I reckon he's going to have a really good game and I reckon he could prove to be...
He's the weak link of that Bulldogs lineup.
You reckon? Really?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, you replace him for Ling Jong, you reckon?
Well, I would, yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I just don't rate him.
Ling Jong with a dodgy shoulder played a grand final 6 days ago. Replaced
one best on ground.
You can't replace Caleb Daniel with Ling Jong. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Caleb Daniel's in too good a form.
But don't worry about it.
Caleb Daniel's in great form. But we'll go to the Sydney key players here, and we'll start again with you, Josh.
Yes, well, other than Franklin, of course, who I think might be picked elsewhere on the panel, the Swans' forward line is going to be crucial because they have struggled to kick winning scores throughout the year, evidently in the qualifying final against the Giants. So Gary Rowan is going to be my key because his speed, especially on the slingshot, the Swans like to absorb the pressure, let the ball in the Bulldogs' 50, and then they come over the back with the goal, with the speed of Rowan and Richards, for example. He's going to be important. Last week he had 2 goals, 18 disposals and 4 inside 50s. I just think he's a really important link-up player for the Swans, and the way that he plays, especially early in the game, will be important for him.
Well, commentators and analysts alike like to use the word like breakout year. I think if there was a breakout player of the year award in the AFL, you'd have to consider Gary Rowan, because I think the way he's transformed in the last 12 months for Sydney has been phenomenal.
I think he's been good. I don't know about breakout player of the year because last year,
he was. I was about to say he was a pretty talented player last year. He just probably didn't get quite as much of a run as he has this year.
That's why I'm saying you talk about he's had problems with form and he's had problems with injuries as well. He's coming out to the season. I think he's been one of their best forwards, and I think especially in this final series, he's stepped up again. He's kicked some really crucial goals.
Well, like a lot of those people in the Sydney forward line, you can say that about Papley as well. Just stood up.
I think Papley's probably been Papley's definitely
it's his first year, so
exactly Well, breakout player, I'd probably give someone like Zach Merritt or probably that accolade because he's had a really good year as well.
I'm not saying he should be the one. I'm saying I think he should be considered.
In contention,
Ryan, your key for the Sydney Swans?
Well, following along the lines of what Josh said, outside of Franklin, who I think we can all agree is probably the X factor.
Yeah, and we've already said that.
For me, it's probably Josh Kennedy. So I know another star midfielder, but he's sort of the one rock there. A lot of the other Sydney midfielders are quite small. They're quick, they're strong, but he's a big body and they makes big tackles and can make the big play to get the ball moving forward. He will be their key for the grand final.
He is big. He is a big body.
Big body midfielder.
Takes big
goes
marks.
Inside, can go up forward and kick a crucial goal if he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just absorbs contact and keeps getting to the next.
Deals it.
Yeah, exactly. And Josh, your key?
Well, you stole mine, so good stuff, Ryan.
You're agreeing on something. That's excellent.
I know, that's bizarre.
Usually on Breakpoint, they do agree a lot. So
okay, let's not talk about tennis. Let's talk about football. We've got. You could choose any midfielder. You could choose Hanbury or Parker. I'm probably going to choose Kurt Tippett.
Right.
Yes.
You can pick any midfielder, but let's pick the full forward.
Yes, that's my logic going into that. But
I think he is someone that you need firing.
He is someone you need to find.
Well, he's your relief ruckman as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Relief ruckman / full forward. He's got 2 massive. Obviously, he's got him and Tom Boyd are going to be playing similar types of roles. I love to see how they're going to go against each other when they're ever in the ruck together, or seeing how
I think Tippett will kill him. But anyway,
Yeah,
I think Tippett will dominate.
Tom Boyd was fantastic in that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think Tippett will destroy him.
He was excellent last week. Shane Mumford was a little bit disappointing.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Didn't take the advantage to really impose
and he had
himself.
The advantage too.
Absolutely,
Mumford's size and experience.
You could tell Boyd was absolutely dead, depleted of energy. Mumford didn't take advantage. So if the Swans have that chance this weekend,
I think probably needs to watch that tape and just say, all right, what did Mumford do that I can do better?
Mumford tried to get to his head too much.
Yeah,
tried to play mind games and
it didn't work at all. Boyd was
for
fantastic.
someone
and Tippett's not like that either. He won't try. He won't go that route. Mumford likes play the mind games. Tippett will just go, and I think he will be great.
I understand why Mumford did it because Boyd's inexperienced. He's young and he's the only ruck basically in that game. But he was very mature. So I know you say Tippett's going to destroy him. I say watch out for Tom Boyd, even though we're talking about Sydney. But we'll move on to you, Val.
Yep. Taking the host reins there.
That's it.
Well done. But my key is someone who missed the 2012 grand final, and he's been good in the past few weeks. Came back into the team this year, kicked a bag of 5 against Richmond, and has had a really good final series. And that's Ben McGlynn, and he gives great pressure up forward. And as we saw in the first quarter against Geelong, kicked the first goal 30 seconds in, and didn't look back from there. Great forward pressure, can go into the midfield and rack up your 25 disposals that you want, and can kick a bag of 3 or 4. And if McGlynn can do that and put the pressure on the Dogs' defence, because they're good, but they are inexperienced.
To me, McGlynn had a phenomenal 2015, but I thought maybe his regular season form this year has been a bit underdone. Yeah, but he stepped up in the final series.
Yeah,
well,
he has.
For me,
he was a bit injured though.
McGlynn's one of those players, and don't mean to really sort of shoot down what you were saying, but I feel like he goes as the team goes. If Sydney's on top and firing, he'll dominate. But I don't think he's one of those guys, if Sydney are struggling a little bit behind, he's not going to be the one to carry you back up there.
He's not a player who can step up their team to another level. That's your
he used to be, but
It's maybe past him a little bit. Don't get me wrong, he's still a talented player, but I just think he relies on the team a lot more than he sort of...
Well, the delivery inside the team relies on him and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think McGlynn, I reckon played 2014 against Hawthorn, they got belted. Kicked the goal early in that game, but then when the Swans died, as you said, he died with them, and there weren't too many Swans players, apart from Buddy, who can hold their head up from that game. But... I think McGlynn, he's out for redemption. Missed 2012, as I said. So I reckon if he can get that elusive premiership that he's been looking for, was unlucky with Hawthorn in 2008 as well. So he's been on the list for 2 premiership sides. Can he get it on third time lucky? Who knows? But we'll move on to the key matchups of the game, and I reckon there's some really good ones here. We'll start with Josh Campbell this time. Look at the smile on his face there. He's very happy with that. But who's your key matchup?
Considering they were both Ryan's picks, I think he's going to love what I say. The Kennedy-Bontempelli matchup.
Yeah, oh, you stole mine.
Well, I mean...
It's the obvious choice.
It's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
I mean, weird agreeing with Ryan. I don't know how this is an unusual feeling. But, I mean, big body versus big body, mature player versus young player, acting like he's in his late 20s. He's incredible maturity for someone his age. But just seeing how they win those contested balls, they're the two of the best contested players in the competition.
Yeah.
Seeing how, you've got Naismith and the ruck against Roughhead, seeing how they control the ruck will be key to how they get the ball as well.
And see, I think what could be also key is sort of the impact. I mean, Josh Kennedy's great at racking up the disposals and all that. Bontempelli, maybe not a huge ball winner, but does a lot with it. It'd be interesting to see the goal tally between the two. They can go forward and kick a goal. Yep. If one of the others can start drawing them, back into the back line, that'd be a huge win either way.
Yeah.
I'll also be interested to see if the Swans decide to tag Bontempelli. We know how much influence he can have on a game.
Who would you say would they?
Well, Tom Mitchell's the obvious choice after he went to Dangerfield, perhaps. But
that'd be a huge matchup as well, size difference.
It would be a big call.
I see. If I'm Sydney, if I'm tagging, I don't think I put Mitchell on him because I think he's a brilliant tackler. I don't know if he's got the right size to be able to.
Well, then who would you put onto Bontempelli if you had to tag him?
If I had to tag him. That is a tough one.
That's the thing. If you had to tag,
he's probably the best choice for Sydney.
You put Mitchell.
If I'm Sydney, I'd probably just try to have a player play like a run with, but get his own ball type. Similar, maybe.
So you just try and take him on one-on-one.
Yeah, I have Kennedy going one-on-one.
That's a huge call.
But that's the thing. Kennedy can do that.
I think he's got the frame for it. I think the person you need to body up against Bontempelli is a bigger body.
But the thing is, if you look at the Hawthorn Bulldogs game, Bontempelli was out muscling Hodge.
Yeah.
So if he can outmuscle Hodge, who's one of the hardest guys in the AFL,
mind you,
lost a little bit of it, but
you said I reckon Josh Kennedy could also outmuscle Hodge. So I think that I'm just saying he is that bullocking type. So that's a really interesting. You just throw fire with fire. You go, all right, Josh, go out and beat Marcus.
I reckon that's their best choice because I don't think
that's a bold move.
Yeah, but that's one that we can look forward to. I hope it happens because we've seen, some of the big guns of the AFL run with each other. We saw, I think, last year in the...
Fife and Dangerfield.
Yeah, Fife and Dangerfield, yep. And then this year, Martin and Dangerfield, Hardwick and Scott said, you guys can go head-to-head. And I think Dusty got the 3 votes on Monday night in that game. So that was a horrible game.
Nobody says, I think. Oh, geez, I wonder if my best player got the vote.
No, that was a horrible game. I don't want to think about that. Still upset
about it.
Yeah, let's not. But we'll go to the match preview in itself. So we'll go.
Can I throw in my?
Oh yeah, have you got? Yeah, I thought we all had the same. Yeah, go for it.
I just did a few numbers on who's going to play on Lance Franklin.
Yeah.
That was my one too.
There's 2 obvious choices, which is probably Joel Hamling, who's had a really good final series so far, or Dale Morris. Now, if we have a look at who's played on Franklin the last 3 times the 2 teams have played, early this year, Adams. Franklin kicked 5 goals on Adams. Last year, he kicked 3 goals on Talia, who's now at the Swans. And in 2014, he kicked 6 goals on Mark Austin, who was promptly delisted that year. So they really haven't...
not straight after that game.
They really haven't had anyone who's played a lot on Franklin.
No.
During the news this week, we saw Dale Morris played on him in 2008 when he kicked 8 goals on Morris. So maybe they won't go to Dale straight away. I
think they will.
Yeah, I think
Morris has come out in the news. He said he's going to spend the majority of the game on. They'll interchange. There'll be multiple players trying to throw Buddy off balance. But Morris will be playing the vast majority of the game.
It'll be interesting because I think Franklin will push up higher in the ground than he has.
Early. He'll push up high. Yeah, absolutely. Try and get that ball going forward early.
But I do agree. I think Morris will be the guy. His experience and he's sort of, I reckon he's just got more poise than Hamling does. So I think.
Well, Hamling's only played like 22, 23 games. Yeah. So, I guess the experience is the important part there with Morris, and they'll interchange. There'll be help always.
There'll be 22 players on Franklin during the course of the game.
Virtually, yeah. So, but Morris will be doing the job, I think.
Yeah, I think the vast majority. But so you had the Franklin matchup.
Yeah, and pretty much the rotations go through it. Yeah,
I think the only real key matchup that you can look at, if you look at the two lists, I reckon you could probably talk about that sort of the forward line, like who goes to Stringer or who goes to Papley. And I think because those two probably in the forward line can sort of be your mercurial players, and Papley has had a really good final series. So does Biggs go to him, or does who else is in the team? Johannisen or Boyd or even Easton Wood. And if you look at Sydney, you got Jake Lloyd or Callum Mills. Does Callum Mills go to Stringer? You'd probably think.
Potentially, maybe.
Smith, Rampy, they've got a few options.
Yeah, and I think Rampy probably goes to Boyd early, but if Stringer's on form, I think he probably makes the switch over to Stringer. So I reckon that sort of the smaller to mid forward, because Stringer's not really a major, like he's not a key forward, but I reckon he's
a tall sort of type. He can mark, he can take a good overhead mark, but he's also good on the ground.
Yeah, but
he's a
freak either way.
What about the Sam Naismith, Jordan Ruffhead matchup?
That's a good one, actually, I think. Because they're both not, the most experienced ruckmen.
And they're not prominent ruckmen either.
Because Ruffhead used to be a defender. And maybe, if they throw Boyd into the ruck, maybe Ruffhead could go down on Franklin and be a tall who knows what they can do. It's a grand final.
Yeah, normally we associate grand final sides with dominant ruckmen, don't we? But these two teams certainly don't have that.
Well, last year you look at West Coast, Nat Nui, and you had McAvoy and Hale for Hawthorn.
The year before Sandilands and
year before was who was Sydney's ruckman in 24? Pike. Pike and McAvoy and Hale as well. And then you look the year before Sandilands. Well. And then 2012 Mumford was the Swans Premiership ruckman. 2011 Trent West for Geelong.
Oh, that's as far back as we're going to go.
Actually, no. Ottens was in that team. Brad Ottens, so he was one of the prominent ruckmen. So there you go. It just astounds me that Trent West.
We've mentioned Trent West on the show. We've gone off a far enough detour back to the grand final.
But I absolutely agree. That will be an intriguing matchup because I think that could also play a pretty important part as to who wins that midfield battle.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sydney do have that, but the midfield battle in itself: Dullhouse, Liberatore, Bontempelli versus Kennedy, Jack, Parker, and Hanbury. So I can't believe I forgot him. But so the midfield battle is going to be exciting. And I reckon this is going to be a really good game. Sydney, sort of that lockdown team. Dogs like to move it quickly. They've got the better of them the last two times, and they've been classic 4-point wins for the Bulldogs. But the thing is, if you look back at the three before the Beveridge era, Swans won those by 60 points, all in Melbourne.
Yeah, but remember, that's before the Beveridge era, so I don't think you can pay too much attention to that.
And they were at Etihad Stadium. So it is a neutral ground. Pretty much, because the Dogs don't play
Bulldogs
there
love
much.
the G though.
They do.
I think they're 3-0 this year at the G.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Because I know they beat. Oh no, they played Melbourne there, and they beat Collingwood there as well. That was a close game.
And they've beaten Hawthorn, obviously.
Yeah. So Hawthorn, Melbourne, and Melbourne have been pretty good at the G this year as well. So the Doggies, it's going to be an interesting match. But I think the start of the game, first quarter, is a real key for them, because I think if the Bulldogs can limit the storm that Sydney throw on them, I think they can get themselves into the match, because we've seen with Adelaide looked frazzled after the first quarter, and that's the same with Geelong. Yeah. So I think Sydney have to come out and try to bully the Dogs around.
Well, they need to do what they've done the last two finals, which is kick a lot of goals in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that'll be exactly what Beveridge will be working on, is how to stop the Swans from just jumping out of the blocks and really just taking the game in the first quarter.
Because that's been their mentality the last 2 weeks. It's been dominate the first quarter and then control the tempo for the next three.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's what they've done.
It's worked perfectly for them.
Yeah, and Josh, you've seen the past two games as a fan of the Swans, so you'd be very happy with this week. But how do you think the Swans can bully the Bulldogs and sort of go forward and control that mental? Like, who would they target early on?
Well, it's interesting because like the Swans last week against the Cats, it wasn't really a lock-it-in sort of style. They got the ball inside 50 and they finished it off sort of thing. And after the first quarter, after that, the Cats had 72 inside 50s for the whole match, which is just an incredible figure, even though they couldn't score. So they invited the pressure after the first quarter. It's just that sort of scrum that they get going in that first quarter. They move the ball forward and then they finish it off. Back to the centre, do it again. And they did that against the Crows as well. If they can pull that off again, then it's going to be hard for the Dogs to come back.
Well, it was a perceived pressure that was a key last week, because Geelong, you saw that they had heaps of time to do whatever they wanted to do with the ball, but they just handballed it or kicked it really quickly, and it resulted in a handball straight to a Sydney player or a kick out on the full, and they resorted to throwing Harry Taylor up forward because Hawkins he was their only key. I think Menzel was a big loss for Geelong, but the Swans, their defence was supreme last week, and if they do the same this week, I think they could be right.
I think the biggest thing is I don't think Geelong were almost mentally prepared. I mean, you can say they should have been mentally prepared. It's a prelim final. But they weren't a team that we expected to be. They were
flat.
They were flat. The Bulldogs are not going to be flat.
Oh, no.
Well, that's my biggest issue with the Bulldogs is
You
them
think they're
going
gonna be
the other
flat?
way. No, not flat.
okay.
Going the other way. They need to control their emotions. There'll be a lot in pre-game. There'll be a lot of build-up.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of hype around them. They just
Nerves.
need, when that ball gets bounced, they just need to concentrate on playing football. I'm worried that a lot of these sort of younger players might get a little bit ahead of themselves and it could sort of derail their sort of opening quarter, and that'll just invite Sydney to be able to kick 6-7 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
We're done, guys.
Yeah. They
Just have they don't have the grand final experience.
Exactly.
That's going to be a massive.
That's where I thought Suckling probably could have come in if he was 100%.
Or are the Bulldogs just too young to know what grand final pressure is like?
That's
Exactly.
true.
Because, I mean, that's what they were saying about
Naivety,
GWS. They've got no finals experience. They made it to a prelim and
Yeah.
nearly made
And-
the grand final.
yeah.
So that finals experience thing, I don't think is as relevant as it maybe has been in years gone by.
They know they don't know what it's like to lose a grand final, but they know what it's like to lose a close final. And we saw that with Adelaide last year when the Crows just beat them in a really tight game. The Dogs were shattered after that. So if they'll
remember that.
If they can remember that and just say, well, that was an elimination final, and this is a grand final, so this is probably going to be 10 times worse. And if they can say, all right, let's not remember that. Let's remember that. Use that as inspiration to try and win this game of footy. And as you said, Ryan, they're quite young. They don't have the grand final experience. They don't really know. But I think when they get out there, they've just got to focus on, and this is easier said than done because it's a grand final, but focus on the football that they've played for the last 3 weeks. That's beaten last year's runners-up, the 3-time reigning premiers, and one of the best up-and-coming teams in the AFL.
And what you got to be wary of is sort of the tank you have to get through the finals. I'm slightly worried that the Bulldogs played their grand final last week in the prelim, while watching Sydney, they could play 3 more prelims to make a grand final. They look absolutely primed. While the Bulldogs, you're just not sure with how much more they can go.
Well,
no team could have bounced back better from a final than Sydney after they lost that Giants game. Those two teams are incredibly different. That Sydney team in that qualifying final and the Sydney team in that prelim final against Geelong, that polar opposites in terms of pressure.
Can we blame ANZ Stadium for that?
I'd like to, yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good game either way. We can look at it any way we want, but I think this is really where we get to who we think is going to win. So let's give all of our predictions. We'll start with you, Josh Schonafinger. We're going to get your prediction. So who wins? Margin, Norm Smith medal.
Okay, I'm going to say the Swans will win.
Yep.
By 12 points.
Yep.
And the Norm Smith will go to Liam Picken.
Liam Picken.
Wow.
Fantastic. Well, the way he played against Hawthorn, and he's had a good final series, I wouldn't put it past him.
I reckon he's on track for the Gary Ayres medal, best player of the final series.
Yeah, I think he is too. He was very good last week and against Hawthorn, even against the Eagles too. Ryan?
I've got the Swans winning by 5 goals, and I've got Norm Smith going to Josh Kennedy.
Josh Kennedy. Josh Campbell?
I've got Sydney winning by probably 5 or 6 goals as well. Yeah. The Bulldog story has been fantastic, but it feels like this is going to be like a fairy tale that doesn't get that happy ending. I don't think they're going to...
It has been a fairy tale anyway, so I think
they're going to play with
happy
incredible emotion.
Yeah.
They're a fantastic team, but as Ryan said, Sydney could play 3 more finals.
Yeah.
If this was an 8-week series, they'd still be winning games. They bounce back phenomenally from that qualifying final, and they've just been fantastic.
Yeah.
Sydney winning by 5 goals, and I've got Lance Franklin winning the Norm Smith.
Lance Franklin.
How many goals will he kick then?
Only probably 2 or 3, but I reckon he'll have 25, 26 touches. I reckon he'll push up really high, maybe even have like 10 or 11 disposals in the first quarter, really set the tempo for Sydney. Sydney will be 3 or 4.
That's what he did last
I
week.
reckon Sydney could be 3 or 4 goals up at the first and then just do what they've done and just hold that lead.
Yep. I think that could be something that we've seen, but the Dogs should be prepared for that. It's
I would
happened
also
the
like
last
to
2
say,
weeks.
dark horse for Norman Smith, Isaac Heaney.
Well, that was going to be mine. But
Sorry, steal that from you, Val.
So I've got the Swans winning by about 4 points. It's going to be a classic grand final. We're due for one. The last one was 2012. All the Hawthorn ones. The Freo one was good for a quarter. The Sydney was good for the first 10 minutes, and then Hawks blew it away. And then last year was just bad all the way through. But I reckon this year is going to be a classic grand final. Swans to win by 4 points. Isaac Heaney to have 30 disposals, kick 3 goals, and the Norm Smith medal.
Wow.
That's a big call.
That's a huge game.
3 goals. Jeez.
Yeah, I reckon he's going to have a big one.
How many speckies in there?
No speckies. Just
speckies.
You can't miss
Good
that
hard
hair.
football.
Yeah, just good hard.
There's
Keep your feet on the ground.
To me, there's 43 players in Isaac Heaney on the field because he just looks so much different than everyone else.
Yeah.
It looks like he's walked the wrong way from Bondi and just gotten into the footy field. And he's like, oh, I'm good at this game.
Well, you can see the blonde hair from anywhere you look on the ground, so even on the bench. But that's about it for the final score today, the grand final preview show. Remember, Monday at 1 o'clock will be our grand final review, and we'll also talk about the NRL grand final, which the Melbourne Storm are in as well, so you can tune in to us there. Josh Schonafinger, thank you for coming on the show today. Great to have you.
Absolute pleasure.
We'll definitely have you on again before the year is out. Ryan Tennison, thank you for coming on, mate. Grand entrance as usual.
Always loving it, mate.
And Josh Campbell, the prodigy, thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries, Val. Great to be here. Fantastic
to have you on. That's it for the final score today. I'm your host, Val Febbo. Hope everybody has a lovely day, a lovely week, and enjoy the grand final. Thank you.
City.
Look out! Puts it the right hand side. Jordan Rapallo.
And it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got